So when you do your these values or these ethics, we keep walking the talk. When you do have a situation, you walk the talk and you let people know that I am doing a particular thing because this is what I believe in. This is based on which I have set my organization. And it's really our own discipline, it is really our own commitment, it is really our own diligent efforts of staying to what our value systems or ethics are, is what will continuously keep growing up and will continue to build into the brand. Customers will talk, employees will talk, partners will talk, and everybody will talk. But it all has to come from within first. Like I said, it's about a conviction inside.
There's a related one, right? It talks about here is ethics in marketing. What is your take on ethics in marketing?
In an environment like today, do not put me on side. Every single thing needs to have, every single task, every single job, every single responsibility that people have needs to be done with ethics. Because at some stage or the other, remember, there are people who are watching you from outside, people are observing you, people are reading about you, people are knowing about you. And whatever that you do is what creates and makes an impression outside. So yes, there are multiple things that we do around ethics and marketing. And I can give you a couple of those out of my own examples out there. Some of those being that I will never go in, for example, but let me put it this way, we will always go and be consistent with all our customers. Okay, be it the people who come in our particular case, be it the customers who come and stay with us, or be it the customers that we go in and sign up for businesses, be it the customers who come in and dine with us, whatever that it is. We will always try and be consistent in what we do and our own marketing effort. We will not go out and no matter even if a customer will come in and try to badmouth about somebody else, we will not acknowledge what that it is. Or we will not go forward and start to speak negatively about a particular competition out there. We will highlight what our own strengths are. We will know what our own limitations are because that's what you do when you do your own SWOT analysis about who you are or whatsoever. But never go out and do those things. You will never go out and sort of get into negative publicity. You will never go in and get into things for a shorter term gain out there. So, because remember, at the end of the day, whatever that you talk about here, PR, and whatever, these are not built, in a shorter period of time. You wanting to talk about doing something which is going to actually deliver stuff to you over a longer period of time. These are your long-term investments. Unless you are into a business where you just set it up, sell it, move on, and get onto something else. That's a different perspective.
Ethics are essentially, you have to decide in your mind whether you're in for the short haul or you're in for the marathon. If you're in for the marathon, and which is what you should be doing, ethics, not only marketing, every sphere of your business and your personal life, will make all the difference. The difference between success and another, athlete. There are a couple of other questions which are basically marketing related. I really don't know whether you like to pick this up or not. The percentage of incentive one should give in sales. Taking out for dinner and drinks in education is right or wrong. So this is good for PR also. In fact, I want to answer this question. This is a basic misconception कि कुछ लिखवाना है तो खाना पिलाना तो पड़ेगा ही नहीं.
Very common.
विनय साहब, आपको कितना खिलाया पिलाया मैंने यार? That is a misconception.
I have a complaint. Never took me off.
There you go.
You can get the balance.
Let me tell you, I've been in PR for 20 years. The best PR really we do is, I want to tell you a little secret. We have a schedule, and say today is Saturday. Typically, we will go to one publication, go there, sit out there, yap out there, drink their tea and come back. We will not go with any work. We will not go with any press release, we will not go with any invitation, nothing. We just go and yap and come back. But what are we really doing out there? We are that time understanding what type of stories that publication is looking for. What is the trend going on out there? And then if we are able to get a story from any one of our clients which matches that, Probably send it and hopefully you get that. Okay? Now, it goes back to the same thing. Understanding what what is my target audience? My target audience is the media guy, because if he doesn't publish it, it's useless. So basically trying to understand what would interest them, and then creating stories, matching them with what clients want. And it's not that every time they match. There are times when we sit on a story for 3 months, 4 months also, waiting for the right opportunity. But the long haul PR is this. Short haul is, very story ka lagwa do. That doesn't work. That doesn't work in us. So,
I would like to add.
yeah, please.
Like what Amish said, I fully agree with him. At the end of the day, we are also looking for good stories always. I'll give you some hypothetical example. Right? I mean, the funda most of the companies is that जो देखता है वो दिखता है, but they present negative publicity. Take this example of Rakhi Sahab. Nobody rates her a very good actress, not a good actor even, and people love her for controversies. Still, she has managed to get all sort of projects from NDTV, imagine she's hosting all. In a nutshell, she's making a good money. Right? Now, what is she doing? Most of the time, it's some wild sort of segment, Baba Ramdev is involved, this sort of segment. So that way, negative publicity does help at times. Right? Then there are companies like JW who will always provide ethics and they will stand by and they will like to have long-term goals. And in this sort of entertainment industry, where your time frame is just like for 15-20 years, you just try to have everything right now. You are young, you are beautiful, and these are the 4-5 years actually when you are doing the market. Right? And another hypothetical example. Supposedly there is some company. Okay, it's turnover. I get a release that we have grown by 500% in last 1 year. Right. So any company would, for him the headline would really sound good and that makes it sound okay. Company growing, Ludhiana is growing by 500%. But when you look at the base, okay, what was the turnover? The figure is not mentioned. People play with the balance sheets also. Your operating profits, your EBITDA, net profits, and all. At the end of the day, we are not detectives or chartered accountants. Not as learned as chartered accountant. Okay, I just know my job. I'm able to spot a story at times, and my job is to put it. Okay, so but the company is the turnover of the company is just 5 lakh. Okay, okay, the company has grown by 500%. The turnover now is 50, 60 or 1 crore. Okay, am I now? If I put it once, all right. Now when somebody asks, what was the turnover? And even if we don't put up the figures and all, okay, one way is that you don't put up the figure, you just spin the story without giving a financial figure. The company has grown, which is the fact that the company has grown by 500%. Same time I'm doing injustice to so many companies actually. There must be so many companies with a very small base who have grown by 1,000 times in last 1 year. Right? So this philosophy that okay, to stay in the limelight always may backfire.
Absolutely. The PR also has to be well structured. It can't be well planned. It should not go dhada. PR is a very slow boil type of a scenario, creating an image. And the image has to be really strong. So that is why it's very important also to make sure that you plan your releases. If you send in too many releases, they go into the dustbin. Okay? Trash folder. Trash folder.
But just to add to what Anish was saying, and what Vinay was saying also, it's, but you know what? At times, too much of publicity is not bad, because that is what you require when you are in dire straits. If tomorrow there is something negative written on escorts of Fortis in Chandigarh, sorry again, it's your brand. How convenient for me. You would want an escorts or the Fortis or the hospital to be there every day, because for the hospital's brand image, it's necessary that people know the truth. So, and the other thing is that when you're talking that consistently in publicity, in the public domain of news, for certain industries like particularly the healthcare segment, because that's a very and the education segment, which are people have a lot of trust in it. So an iota, one negative coverage can kill that brand. Because it takes a lot more time to recreate that brand, that image. So for for a Fortis or an Apollo or any of the hospitals, it's very imperative for them that they are in the news in a positive sense almost every day. Almost every day you'll find at least 4 to 5 times in a week you'll read about them, whether it's a path-breaking heart surgery or liver transplant. They constantly keep engaging with the outside world and saying that we also do this kind of surgeries and treatments. So for that sector, it's very vital to be in the news all the time. But for there are sectors where you do not want to be in the news all the time. Like if you take one of the famous brothers, or the two brothers, one of them doesn't want to be in the news because that can backlash for his business. In the last 6 months, and correct me if you're wrong, how many the Ambani brothers? How many times have you actually read about Anil Ambani's company in the last 6 months? For them, it's now like let us completely stay out of news for whatever reasons. So yes, it has to be managed. For certain segments, it is very important, vital to be in news. I'm sure for people also like for the hospitality industry, it's very important to be in the news at regular intervals, not daily, but at least twice a week, to keep that particular brand going. Because I'll give you an example of Delhi. In Delhi, you have got nightclubs, the pubs. Their shelf life is 6 months. Because Delhiites, per se, always go to the most happening place. So within 6 months, the happening place will change. That nightclub actually has a window of 6 months to 1 year to earn the money they have spent to erect that place. So they depend on PR and advertising and marketing communication, a lot to churn the revenue within 6 months. Because they know after 6 months, people say, okay, but the new one has opened, let's go to the new one. So that's why for certain industries you have to be in the news every time on a regular basis.
Okay,
take on that question on the incentive. I'm a firm believer of incentives. Okay. You've got to drive sales. You've got to motivate people by giving them incentives. However, like they always say, there's a saying that goes, there needs to be a method for the madness. Which actually means if you have to put an incentive plan to somebody, you've got to make sure that you're setting up the right goals for the people. Whatever your target is, you've got to give people a stretch goal or a stretch target. And based on the stretch goal or the stretch target, you've got to make people or give people the incentives. Now, there are various means of incentive. There is no right formula to what percentage incentive. Normally, in any industry related to sales, it could possibly be anywhere between a max up to 15 to 20%. It is all subject to what your compensation strategy is for those people. If your compensation is that you pay those in certain places, you pay everybody a full up what you call a salary, and then you can put as an incentive. In certain places, you can pay people and say there is a particular amount of salary which is fixed salary, and there is a variable component to a salary based upon again on the option. Third option is a lot of companies also do what you call as ESOPs, stock options that are there available. So there are multiple things. But if the answer, the basic answer to the question is, do I believe in incentives and should the salespeople be given incentive? I definitely think the people should be given incentive. As long as you give them as long as you agreed with them, there is an achievable goal. Incentives then should be based on a stretch goal that you set for them, and then you give them, and then you put incentives along with them. You can give tiered incentives to them to say if your goal is 100 and you achieve 110, if 10 is the stretch target, if you achieve till 4, you can get 5%, but if you achieve till 8, you can get 6 or 8%, but if you achieve till 10, you can actually make up to 10%. So like I said, there is nothing defined, it's just really the way that you like to set it up, but incentives do work.
Okay, there's a question which asks, the concept that a client never says no on your face, but keeps on delaying things. How do you manage that? बहुत होते हैं हमारे पास.
Summation?
So how do you manage it?
See, okay, firstly, it also depends on the relationship of a PR agency and the management of the company. There is an inherent, I wouldn't say distrust, but bordering distrust between the PR agency and the corporate communications team of the client side. So the PR agency would love to go and speak to the marketing guy, to the operations chat more than the Corpcom, because the operations chat is very, as you were saying, driven by target. When the client says no, and which we get very often that, say suppose there's a story from the Economic Times, the client will say, "Okay, this is a good story, but there are 4 other people, I don't want to do it." But it's for the agency to tell them that how important that positioning is. Because you cannot go back to the journalist all the time and say that, sorry, we can do these single standalone stories. When the client says no, if X says no, we have to look at an alternative Y within the organization who can speak on that. Okay? Secondly, always keep in mind, if you get an opportunity to be quoted, or if an agency asks for information from you, it is for your sake that the agency is asking for information. So give it as fast as you can. Get it out of your table. Then you can hold the gun on his head and say that, hey, I gave you the information, what did you do with it? But flowing of information at the earliest is critical for an agency to service the account more effectively.